Question of the day, is this nothing more than a trap? And what I mean is break into the upside out of this ascending wedge. We come over and look at how the indices fared across the board. The Dow was up 200 points. The NASDAQ was up 159 points. S&P 500 up 44 points, with the Russell 2000 being up 1.63 points. We look at advancing issues versus declining. We had 59.1% of issues advancing on the day. And we come over and look at the sectors across the board, technology leading the way. However, a little problematic is utilities. We're not that far behind. The laggards today were consumer cyclicals, followed by energy. Now, when we come over and take a look at the volatility index, we can see the VIX today was down 3.72 points. And if you notice, the VIX closed very near the session lows. That is a good sign out there for the bulls. However, is the market headed for a short-term pullback? If we come over and we look at the dollar index today, the dollar index pushing on up higher, trying to get to this next structure breakdown point, which really starts anywhere in the ballpark of 103.60 up here to about 103.72. We can see the MACD indicator still looks extremely strong at this moment. And with the dollar going up, we take a look at gold. And what do we see with gold? Gold basically has a candle of indecision. We have a wick on the top, a wick on the bottom, and we're still waiting for confirmation. Are we going to break above all-time highs, opening the door to this ABC pattern right up here about 2782? Now, let's not forget, we have some earnings coming out tomorrow, as we are now in earnings season. Tomorrow, we got to pay attention to Citigroup, Bank of America, J&J, and Progressive before the market opens, along with Goldman Sachs. And when we come over and we look at the expected big movers of the day, tomorrow, United Airlines expected to move plus or minus 7%. We got Citigroup and Goldman Sachs plus or minus 4 to 5% on the session. So is it going to be the case where we should be very happy that everything is busting out to the upside, or is it nothing more than a warning? Today, we saw the Dow Jones making another new all-time high. Then we look right over here to the left. What else do we have? We have the ABC pattern completion. Now, normally, once the ABC pattern completes, the market does something other than continue in that direction. Now, that could be the market goes sideways, or we start to see a pullback up and around this area. We look at the fear and greed index. We are now in extreme greed. And at one point today, we were at 78. We talked about that today during the live stream. And if you want to make sure you don't miss the next live stream, make sure you're subscribed and you have the bell notifications turned on for all. Now, when we dive down here and we start looking at the 30-minute chart, to me, on the Dow, this starts to look a little bit weak. You can see the MACD indicator starting to cross from an elevated level, and a small little pullback would be warranted up here at these levels. Now, one of the areas I would want to watch would be right in this minus development area at about 429.42. Then if we come over and look at Apple today had a very bullish day, up 1.65%. We look at King of AI, NVIDIA, smashing through the 127 Fibonacci extension level. However, let's not forget, we have a larger ABC pattern up here at about 141.27. Now, the way I derived of this target would be if you grab your Fibonacci extension tool, measure A to B, B to C is a corrective leg, and then it projects all the way up here to 441.27. Now, if we do hit that price target, that would be enough to make another new all-time high. And then as we come over and look at the small caps having a very bullish day out there today as well, up 0.74% on the session. We look out here on the 30-minute chart, also may look a little bit weak at this moment, like we could see a pullback in the very near future. We come over and we look at the economic calendar. We really had a bank holiday in the US, no major economic news for today, but for tomorrow, things start to change a little bit. Starting off at 8:30 a.m., we have the Empire State Manufacturing Index. We'll see if that's enough to cause a little bit of volatility in this market and find out, has the market went a little bit too far, too fast? We jump over and we look at the Qs today. Now, on the Qs, if you trade the NASDAQ, you guys are probably very happy. We were able to fill the gap all the way back here from the 17th. That gap has now been filled. However, to the upside, we still have some price targets we need to pay very close attention to. For instance, right up here at 510.33, we'll complete this A to B equals C to D pattern, which is a Fibonacci extension level, but we also have another ABC pattern within an ABC pattern, which completes slightly higher at about 522.85. So when we start to look at this morning, we had a gap up higher. There was no looking back. On the 4-hour chart, see the MACD indicator is crossed to the upside, but we have some divergence sitting up here. And now look at the last 2 4-hour candles. We have selling tails on the top of that. And then couple that with the fact that we have a gap just below us, that is problematic. On the 1-hour chart, you can see we have this gap from this morning, which needs to come all the way down to about 493.31 in order to fill the gap. As we look at the volume profile levels, you can see we basically had a gap up, boom, we came back down, but we did not come down and fill the gap. If we start trading below value area low at 496.65, then I want to look to target the bottom, or basically what could be gap support, and then all the way down here for that gap to come back and get filled. Now, I want to make everybody aware, Apex has a major announcement after this payout cycle right now. There is no more payout cycles. 8 trading days, then you can request a payout. No more waiting. And guess what? We're going to be able to DCA once again. So the DCA gang will be back in full effect. And if you want to make sure you get the best deal with Apex, use promo code Mike at checkout. As we come over and look at the futures markets real quick, look at the 4-hour chart. I'm going to zoom this up real quick. You can see we had quite the push on the way up. This candle right here, kind of a hanging man type of candle, which we were talking about during the live stream. Now the question is, do we start breaking below that candle or not? Keep in mind, the hanging man candle is the weakest of all reversal patterns. And if we look at the last 4-hour candle of the day, notice it was an inside day, meaning the high was lower than the high from the prior day. The low was higher than the low from the prior day, which sets the stage that we are likely going to get a breakout or breakdown from this range. We look out here on the 30-minute chart. Notice we busted through R2. We did not quite make it all the way up to R3 today. Then as we look at the profile, I'm going to classify today as a P as in Paul. Now, with a P-shaped profile, we want to pay very close attention to value area low. If we break back below that area, that opens the door. We're likely going to explore the lower third in the range. And I'm kind of watching this zone for a possible retest. Now, this zone down here would be anywhere from 456.50 all the way down here to about 446.00. Now, if we look at the volume profile levels, value area high is going to come in at 20,652.50. We have the point of control coming at 20,613.00 with value area low coming at 20,558.25. Now, if we can get above value area high tonight and we start coming down, by default, I am going to be looking on the sell side of the market, looking for that rotation to basically take shape and start to head back a little bit lower. Now, when we come over and we look at the SPX right now, you can see we had this ascending wedge, and now we've broken to the upside. Does this hold? If it does not, watch out. This could be nothing more than a trap, and we see the market going a little bit lower. Notice right up here, almost at the 6,000 price point, we have this A to B equals C to D pattern, and that ABC pattern completes at 5,939. Now, when we flip over and we look at the SPY, for instance, we have that same type of pattern, but the ABC pattern completion completes up here at 592.09. Now, we've had quite a strong push over the last couple trading sessions. As we look at the 4-hour chart, MACD indicator has a good cross to the upside. However, I'm not really a big fan of that last closing candle of the last candle of the day. We look down here on the 1-hour chart, looks like the MACD is starting to show signs of weakness. And on the 30-minute chart, this is a little bit more evident. You see the MACD indicator lines starting to pinch together. Now, we do have a gap from today, and we're going to see, do we come back and start filling that gap as early as this week? Or is it something that's pushed back to a later time? Now, when we look at the volume profile, notice we have a P as in Paul shaped profile. But if we start trading below value area low at 583.27, I'm going to be looking to see, can we come down towards gap support, 580.78? Anything below that, I'm looking all the way down here for the gap to be filled at about 579.56. Then when we dive down and we start looking at the futures markets real quick, on the 4-hour chart, notice new all-time highs. Can't stop, won't stop. Right now, we are miles above value area high from last week. But look at the weekly profile. There's a couple areas we want to focus on. If we start trading below 58.67 I want to focus on this minus development area along with the untested point of control at 58.31. Now, this minus development area is going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 58.47. Then as we dive down and we start looking at the daily profiles, notice we had quite a move up. Then notice we started to see a little bit of selling on the top of this candle. We have a big wick up. Boom, they slammed it right back down. However, today, ever since last night at about 10:30 at night, we basically rally, very, very small minimum pullbacks at best. We were unable to get more than 2 consecutive candles that closed down, meaning they closed lower than where the candle opened. And you can see we had that strong push up right here. Now, I would classify the profile shape as a P as in Paul. And as I'm looking at this, value area high is going to be up here at 5912.50. The point of control is going to be right here at 5909.00 with value area low being 5893.25. As I'm looking at this, what am I expecting? It's very clean, very simple. If we're staying below the point of control, I'm going to start to look and say, okay, can we make it towards this next high volume node at about 5903? we start breaking that, then I'm going to be looking all the way down here towards 5893.50. And since we have a P-shaped profile, then if we break value low, I'm going to be looking for the lower third of the range to come back and get tested. Now, one of the areas I will want to focus on is going to be this huge minus development area. It ranges anywhere from 58.81 down here to about 58.77. Now, anything below that, then I'd look all the way down here to about 58.61.50. If you're tired of blowing up your prop trading accounts, make sure to watch this video. It'll show you a better way to manage your risk.